You're listening to How I Met Your Monster, a podcast that explores the introductions to your favorite movie monsters. My name's Zach.
I'm Danny.
And I'm Casey.
And together we dive into the world of horror to find out how filmmakers have introduced us to our favorite monsters time and time again. This is How I Met Your Monster.
Box. You opened it. We came.
I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left.
Who are you? Explorers in the further regions of experience. Demons to some, angels to others.
Call you Meatloaf! Surprise, Sydney.
Come on, don't be chicken shit.
Welcome to How I Met Your Monster, the show where we discuss the introductions to your favorite movie monsters. If you're not already subscribed to the show, find us on podcast platforms. Just it's that easy.
If you find a platform in the wild, just assume it's for podcasts and get on it.
Stand on that. I love standing on platforms. Like, this is like legit. Like, if you see, you ever just see, like, you know, you're walking across like a curb when you're a kid and you're like,
Yeah.
you like want to walk on the curb and not the street. If there's like a platform that like you can stand on, if it's like, this is totally serious. If there's like any kind of like raised platform, I like have to get on it. Not so much where it's like I need to climb up on this thing.
Yeah.
But if it's just like, I don't know, but a good range between like 8 to 12
Zach,
inches.
It's like a metaphor, Zach. You just want to like keep climbing. You want to keep moving. You want to get onto that platform.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I get it.
See, you get it. You get it.
It's a specific thing. It's hyper specific.
Casey, what is it? What are your
shame here?
What are your thoughts on platforms in the wild?
I'm just here.
You don't have an opinion on platforms, one way or the other?
Nope.
Come on.
I have an opinion on platform shoes.
Do you like
I think
them?
they're great. They remind me of the Spice Girls
Yes.
back in the 90s.
I
They give you a
see. I
little
would have
height
said
if
kiss.
you need it.
Would have said kiss.
Oh,
Well, you're two very different people.
yeah.
That's true.
I guess not really. Kiss kind of, I mean, they're really not that far.
From
just
the Spice Girls.
Just the style of the music.
Well, also it's the same members. Kiss just eventually became Spice Girls.
Right.
And now they perform as both of them kind of interchangeably.
Right. Okay, so now that we've talked about platforms, we got that out of the way. If you guys want to support the show and stay up to date on your horror information, there is no better way than to subscribe to Fangoria magazine, because it's awesome. It's been around for forever. And now if you go to their website and build your cart with subscriptions, t-shirts, hats, old issues, anything, you can get 20% off by entering promo code How I Met Your Monster at checkout. And you help support us because we need support.
Yeah. Also, if you need some more incentive to subscribe to Fangoria, Zach, isn't it true that Fangoria was brought over to the States on the last voyage of the Demeter?
That's a little known fact.
They discovered blood, corpses, and just a single copy of Fangoria.
Mm-hmm. Dracula was just reading. Everyone was dead and Dracula was just sitting in the corner.
He almost got away with it, but he was like, oh, if I could just get to the last article's really good. And then they caught him.
So that is a little known fact that is how Fangoria got brought to the States. So you can tell that to your friends.
Yeah, Dracula was like, dang.
You can tell that too.
I can relate to this. And then there was an article about him. He's like, wait a minute.
He's like, this is too gory.
They're already making a movie about this?
Visit shop.fangoria.com/howimetyourmonster. Load up that cart and enter promo code How I Met Your Monster at checkout for 20% off. And now that we got that business out of the way, it is time to begin our final shift in our occupational hazard triple feature.
Sure is.
And what better job to take on than being the governess of two creepy children in a big old castle in London, England.
Are we talking about Mary Poppins?
I have never seen Mary Poppins, so we may very well be talking about that.
Mary Poppins was a nanny, not a governess.
What's the
I
difference?
thought Mary Poppins was a governess.
I don't know.
What's the difference?
But I just assumed that a governess was a nanny for rich people.
Yeah, governesses though, I don't know. I feel like a nanny is more like babysitting. A governess actually teaches them.
Okay.
Yeah, she
Like
teaches them
reading,
a
writing,
spoonful of
arithmetic.
sugar makes the medicine go down.
I've never seen
Oh,
Mary
yeah.
Poppins either.
Oh, good Lord. All right, our next theme, governesses. Disney governesses. What's is that the plural for governesses? Governess-I?
Governess-I.
Governesses.
So she's a witch, right? Mary Poppins?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a great question.
No,
I
yeah,
actually
for
have
sure.
no idea what she would technically be labeled as, but yeah, I
Yeah.
guess she is a witch.
Have you ever seen Bedknobs and Broomsticks?
Yeah.
That's about a witch. That's a Disney movie about a witch.
Well, son of a bitch.
I mean, there are witches in many
Wait, is
Disney
Disney
movies.
was Disney trying to promote witchcraft back in the 60s?
But there were plenty of. I mean, think about all the. Well, I guess most of them are villains though. Besides Mary Poppins and the woman from Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
So they're basically telling people like, don't be a witch, and they're winking. And
Yeah.
they're like, unless you can hide it.
Yeah, and
Maybe that was the whole like message of the spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. It was like a metaphor for their like secret love of witchcraft and how they're trying to like kind of get that. It was propaganda basically
Well-
for assimilating witchcraft into the modern world.
well, Disney was a Nazi, so
Was he really?
yeah.
No, really.
Are you guys serious? You guys don't know about this?
No, I
No?
didn't.
Yeah.
God.
So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, you could probably do some of your own research. I think that it goes both. There's stuff about both ways, but yeah, a lot of people say he was like an anti-Semite, really big racist and stuff.
Jesus.
So Mary Poppins.
So Mary Poppins being
Yeah, so
a
speaking
witch.
of Mary Poppins, it is
okay.
a great segue to this movie, though, to be fair. So
So, Danny, we are starting our last shift, right? We're starting our governess shift. We're all becoming governesses, all becoming governess-I.
follow me, children.
Why? Why are we doing this, Danny? What movie are we watching?
The Innocents, based on the novel by Henry James, not called The Innocents. It's called The Turn of the Screw.
Not to be confused with the Taming of the Shrew
That's what
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
or 10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh,
And not to be confused with Stephen King's The Skeleton Crew. Is that Stephen King? I don't know. And not to be confused with Adam Sandler's hibbity-jibbity-doo.
And the Curious Case of Winnie the Pooh. Wait, what is the Adventures of Winnie
it's
the Pooh?
The Adventures of Winnie
The Adventures
The
of Winnie
Adventures
the Pooh.
of Winnie the Pooh. It's Benjamin Button.
Not to be confused with Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo.
Why can't I think of anything that rhymes? I have a Pumpkinhead poster in front of me. That's all I can think about.
Not to be confused with Pumpkinhead-oo.
Pumpkinhead, ooh.
No,
Pumpkinhead 2.
No, seriously though, The Innocents, not to be confused with The Turning from 2022. I don't know. I don't know when it came out. With Finn Wolfhard, which
Yeah.
is also an adaptation of The Turn of the Screw.
Yeah.
Yes.
With a governess and all that. So, Danny, this was your choice for our triple feature on occupational hazards. Tell us why you chose The Innocents.
All right, get ready. Okay. It's based on the novel by Henry James, The Turn of the Screw, which is as ambiguous as the movie. So we're going to tackle that a little bit later, but very ambiguous novel. Is this about ghosts? Is this about kind of losing your mind? We don't know. The director, Jack Clayton, took a lot of inspiration from a play based on the book written by William Archibald titled The Innocents, which is where he got, the title. That's why I changed it. In the play, the ambiguity is basically gone. This is a ghost story, so that's why I think they really play with that a lot in the movie. Clayton hired Archibald, the guy who wrote the play, to adapt the story into a movie, hired another screenwriter, John Mortimer, and then finally Truman Capote, who I'm sure everyone is familiar with, this was around the same time that he was working on In Cold Blood. So he had started In Cold Blood and then was like, I'm going to adapt this movie. And he basically rounded it out and made it the movie that we know it as today.
Okay.
Capote was responsible for kind of highlighting the Freudian elements, like that the story was maybe a sexual fantasy that Miss Giddens is projecting onto the children, which we'll obviously get to.
Interesting. There was a lot of weird.
Oh,
sexy stuff.
this is a very creepy movie for very different reasons.
Yeah.
Which I think is why, despite coming out in I think 1961, we're still talking about it today. Now, despite Capote kind of putting all of that into the script, he personally believed that the ghosts were real. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Okay.
The Innocents was a pretty controversial movie at the time when it was released. The British Board of Film Censors gave it an X rating, though they later changed it. It's now just labeled as unrated. And as you had mentioned, The Innocents has been adapted quite a few times, as recently as 2020, when there were actually 2 adaptations. A film called The Turning with Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things, and Mike Flanagan's series The Haunting of Bly Manor. Fun fact, he didn't just adapt The Turning of the Screw, but also other stories written by Henry James. And you can actually see the titles of those stories in the episode titles, which I thought was a fun little take on that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see the Bly Manor. I watched Haunting of Hill House, but I didn't watch Bly Manor.
I think you might appreciate it, especially after seeing this. Because Zach, this is your first time seeing The Innocents?
Yes, I am an innocent virgin.
Oh. Well, then,
Little me.
I think you'll appreciate it because it even though it adapts the novel, it also kind of adapts the movie. So like the song, like a lot of the music and like some of those things are kind of like brought into the show.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Though I'm not sure. I don't think that the song, I could be totally wrong, that if the song that Flora sings all the time and from the music box is in the book. I read the book a few years ago, but it's very complicated.
How can a song be in a book?
It's magic. I'm telling you, witchcraft.
Oh, Mary Poppins.
Governesses.
Okay, I see. It was written by Henry James, but Mary Poppins was also like,
yes.
Hold on, let me take a stab at this.
100%. So yeah, that's The Innocents, and let's just hop off this little carriage. We just got ridden up to Bly Manor, and we're all wearing our finest dresses, and we're ready to clock in.
Those dresses.
I know.
So wait, in this movie, was the house the Bly Manor?
Yeah, so the name of the house that they're at is Bly.
Oh.
So in the show, that's why he just kind of like took it to kind of Haunting of Hill House obviously was the original title, and then to kind of match it for the quote unquote sequel in their little anthology, they were just like, let's just take that.
I'm definitely going to watch that now.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. It's a very different take. I don't want to, I'm not going to say anything.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think you'll, I'm so excited that you guys are going to watch it.
Yeah, I didn't say I was going to watch it. Sorry.
See, listeners, this is why you come to How I Met Your Monster. We help you organize your viewing life, your TV movie viewing experience, just in general terms. So you're welcome.
Oh, so speaking of songs and creepy kids singing creepy things, our trusted trivia source, IMDb, said that there's an audio clip of somebody singing from this movie in the haunted, cursed video that they play in The Ring.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like it said like 25 seconds into that little cursed VHS tape, you can hear like a clip from this movie.
Oh, that's interesting.
So now I kind of want to go back and see.
Just Google
that. Yeah.
Google The Ring videotape, or like YouTube.
You Google
sure
it.
It's on there. Oh, fine. I will right now.
Do not watch that tape.
Don't watch the tape.
How many warnings do you need?
So
do not watch the tape. It will kill you in 7 days.
So the first time I watched that movie, I was at Cree's house, and her brother knew that we were watching the movie and he left to go hang out with his friends, and he called her house in the middle of us watching that movie, and he did that to us, and it freaked all of us the fuck out.
Good for him.
It was like, if I remember correctly, it was like perfectly timed too, to where it was like right after they showed it to you the first time.
That's
oh
great.
my gosh, it was fucking, yeah.
So our monsters in The Innocents, I guess, are the two ghosts, right?
Well, that's the thing. I think it's really hard to determine. I guess it just depends on your. Oh, okay. Can I may be jumping the gun, but can I ask you guys, where do you stand on this movie? Do you see it as like, this is a straight up haunted house, the kids are being possessed by these ghosts? Or did you see it as Miss Giddens is just kind of like out of her element and it's too overwhelming? She spent her whole life kind of living, with her little strict preacher dad, and this is too much and she's kind of losing her mind.
I thought it was just the ghosts. I didn't see any of her.
I
losing her
definitely
mind.
took it as a ghost story. I was like, oh, the ghosts are there. Like that's, these kids are being influenced. I don't even know if possessed. She says possessed. She's like, the kids are possessed. I wouldn't say that. I'd say they're being influenced by these ghosts.
Oh, that's a cool term. Okay.
Because, the kids were just too creepy and independent to not be having something to do with ghosts. Like if it was just her.
But couldn't you argue that the kids, because I come at this movie.
No, you can't, Danny. You can't argue that. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're right. Oh, what was I thinking? No, because like I watched the movie wanting it to be a ghost story, and just like, because that's just the movie I want. But I can't help but be like, they're giving you so much to like fuck with your head and make you think otherwise. Because even with the kids being so strange, and you could chalk that up to like they don't have good role models, and the role models they did have were very like just dark and twisted, and they did. Maybe there are no ghosts, but those people still kind of use the children, for their own benefit. So that could make them, because the kids act like adults, like they're almost kind of compensating for things like the adult presence that they missed out on.
Well, what about this? This is something you can argue, Danny.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I'm going to want to, but we'll see.
We'll see. So going back to your thought about her maybe just kind of like losing her mind and doing whatever, there are no ghosts. The kids aren't kids.
Mm-hmm.
What if they're just the people? Like, well, it doesn't really make sense, but it makes a little bit of sense.
Do you mean like so this is like a Benjamin Button thing where in the time between their supposed deaths and her working there, they've aged backwards?
Like, what if that housekeeper lady,
Miss Mrs. Gross. Josie Grossi.
Josie Grossi.
Josie Grossi.
I'm not Josie Grossi anymore. What if she? Okay, hang on.
I'm here.
What if she is a ghost?
Okay.
I don't know. Basically, what I'm trying to say is the kids, and not some Benjamin Button stuff. The kids aren't kids. She sees them as kids, but they are. They are Peter, Quint, and Miss Jessel. Okay. And that's why like the all the kissing between the children and the adults that's just so fucking weird. But like she was actually just kissing Peter Quint.
Well, I think that leans more towards the possession kind of thing.
I don't know. There's so much to pick apart with this movie. Is the idea of them being possessed kind of ties into the whole theme of the story. And the story is called The Innocent. So it's like the innocence, the idea of being an innocent and being corrupted. And then how do you corrupt someone innocent on a supernatural level? It is like the idea of possession. It's like, I'm going to literally use you for my own benefit.
But here's the
there's so many scenes in this movie that I literally wrote down like every piece of dialogue that I could, where it's sort of like, Oh.
Danny just wrote the script out.
So like in this scene, interior garden day.
So, but why are Peter Quint and Miss Jessel haunting the house?
Because they want to, I don't know. I think there's a lot of ways to read it. There was one line. I think they just want, it's creepier the more you pull it apart, because on one hand, you could argue that they want it to be together. They were both from lives where maybe money wasn't as accessible to them as it was for the people they worked for. So they were almost like benefiting, like, oh, we can live this life of luxury, you know, as these children, and no one would ever suspect children. But then it's creepy because they're supposed to be in love. But the movie also doesn't shy away from that element. Like, it is acknowledging that a lot of the stuff happening here is creepy, which I think is why the movie is so controversial, because the more you try to like look at it, it's like, ugh, this is like skeevy on multiple levels.
Yeah.
I looked at it as like a class thing where like we could just live our lives. And it's sort of, well, I don't want to spoil.
Danny, you can spoil it.
Movies.
Yeah, what do you...
Well, other movies.
It's like we talk about movies on here, Danny. People know.
Do you guys know what movie I'm talking about?
No.
Here, I'll describe it. Where characters transport their souls into another person to benefit from their lives. If that doesn't ring a bell, then I'm not going to say anymore.
Are you talking about Get Out?
Yes, actually. But that movie also reminds me of this other movie too. So we'll say Get Out. It's kind of like Get Out in that sense.
I want to know what this other movie is.
Yeah, just say it.
I don't want to spoil it.
I'm obviously never going to watch it.
Ruin the movie. No, you should.
Okay, listeners, if you are worried about spoilers from any movie ever, skip forward the next 10 seconds. Like, well, I think Apple does 15 seconds. Let's skip forward.
It's going to take you about 20 seconds to say the title.
Shut up.
Okay.
JK.
So, skip now. Okay, Danny, what is it?
The Skeleton Key.
God damn it. I knew you were going to say that.
No.
Because Zach hasn't seen it.
You haven't seen it?
I saw it when it came out, but I have no idea that that's what it was about. And now you've ruined it. Listeners, I wish I would have skipped with you. I should have skipped my own 15 seconds.
Just wait another 15 years to watch it. You'll forget.
This is why I'm traumatized emotionally. I'm set up for failure.
It's really funny because thinking about that movie, like literally, I don't have a single recollection. I've seen it, but I don't have a single recollection of it. I don't have even after you saying that.
Yeah.
Like, no.
I know there's like, I can see the poster and I know there's like a house and that's about it.
I remember liking the movie. We should watch it again.
So it's like Get Out.
Yeah.
But we just assume that everyone has seen Get Out because I kind of just spoiled Get Out as well.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not exactly what Get Out is about. It's just kind of...
No, but this has that... So if you look at this movie like that, there is a kind of a common thread. There's a similarity. And that's the thing about, that's why I love this movie, is there's so many ways to interpret it, which makes it so interesting. That's why I thought it'd be really interesting to talk about, but maybe it's too complicated. Maybe
it must be too complicated for my tiny blurg because I didn't get anything.
Yeah, but you said you watched it in like 3 parts and then
I had to.
Fell asleep during the end.
Oh,
Casey's
no, I fell
not
asleep.
so much of a...
I fell asleep
Casey,
each time. What?
You're not too much of a classic black and white kind of movie watcher, are you?
I mean, not really black and white. I can't think of anything that I've really watched in black and white besides like the original, like Dracula and Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which we need to cover those on the show.
Do we not want to watch those anymore? Because I do love these.
No, I don't have anything against them, and I didn't go into this thinking like I don't want to watch this movie because it's black and white. I'm not like that. I just I guess,
but it is paced differently. You know, there is like something to be said for our attention, not our attention spans. I don't mean that as like individuals. I just mean like as like a culture, you know, like
Yeah.
things speed up. We change the way we view things this is very different. And it's like reading an old, I mean, literally the book that it's based on, it's so short and I had so much trouble getting through it because the language is just like, oh, what are you talking about? Like, what is this?
I've had just a really hard time paying attention in general. So if something doesn't, I can't tell you in the last few weeks how many movies I've watched 10 minutes of and then turned off. Because if it's not grabbing me by then, I'm not going to bother at that point because I will fall asleep.
Well, I'll tell you guys, I am 2/10 into the way of my Fast and the Furious watch through.
Good. You watched Too Fast. Too Fast.
Was it too fast?
Furious?
Was it too furious?
It was really furious. I mean, it was like...
It was really furious.
It was really furious. I thought I had seen... Okay, so I had only seen the first one in the movie theater, and that's it. And I thought I had seen the second one, but it turns out I had not.
Good.
And I was like waiting for Vin Diesel to come out. I was like, hey, Vinny, when are you coming back?
Is he not in it?
No.
Oh.
And I don't think because I know the third one goes to Tokyo and it's like it's kind of like I think the third one, if I'm not mistaken, is kind of like a Halloween 3 situation where it's it's its own kind of movie.
Yeah.
So I don't think Vinny D comes back until part 4.
Vinny D, like he's from the Jersey Shore.
Do you think in an alternate universe, his name's Vin Premium or Vin Super?
Vin regular unleaded.
Vin unleaded.
Did you like it without Vinny D?
No, I don't particularly I don't think I will like any of these movies, but I'm forcing myself to watch them.
You could be watching something way better, you know?
I could be, but I found out that I think that in Too Fast, Too Furious, they that's when the culture, the thing started, people saying bruh and cuz.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what's up, cuz? And it's like, what's up, bruh? And
what's up, bruh?
It's so infuriating when they talk like that.
It's so forced.
But, and Paul Walker, rest in peace. He I enjoy a lot of his movies, but he's always just happy to be wherever he is.
He's so
he's a golden retriever.
He's like an undercover cop, and he's doing he's in these life or death situations, but he's always smiling. But anyways, we're here to talk about haunted ghosts.
Not the Fast and the Furious.
Not the Fast and the Furious. We'll have to do a spin-off podcast on Fast and the Furious.
Man.
But are you guys ready to head to Bly Manor and meet our ghost monsters?
Yeah. I thought we'd been there.
Well, we're still trying to
we're
on the outskirts where we've got binoculars or they had binoculars back then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
They
we
did.
have a little
the opera ones.
No.
Yeah.
All three of us in our best summer gowns, hiding in the bushes on the outskirts of Bly Manor with our little opera binoculars, and we're trying to suss out who are the monsters? Is it the sister in her?
Is it
in
that
her
lady
bra?
standing?
Is it Mrs. Gross?
So one of the thoughts that I did have during this movie was, can you imagine dressing like that all the time?
Ugh.
Oh yeah.
In the summer.
Lord, terrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's my thought for the day.
All right, let's head to Bly Manor. Clippity cloppity clippity cloppity.
I love how we had 2 different takes. It's like the
clippity clop.
It's like
clippity clop.
I did the
Zach is doing the cartoon version.
And you're like, it's like in Friends when they're like, "You're whipped," and he's like, "Whoop-ah."
Okay, so I have a question. Tell me if I'm wrong in saying this. The way this movie starts, it's just it opens up. There's she's in a job interview, basically. Yeah. They just lay out the whole movie. They're like, this is what's going to happen. You're going to go to this place. You're not going to have You're not going to be able to reach out to me. Like, I don't want to hear about it. Just good luck. Here you go. Then the movie starts. Mm-hmm. Movies don't do that anymore.
No.
Am I wrong in that?
You get like the inciting incident within the first like 4 minutes.
Well,
I'm thinking like The Shining though did it, right?
Yeah. But I think that now viewers want more of a reason to care about somebody. Why would I care about what happens to this woman? I don't know anything about her.
Sure.
Well, it's funny because in the book, there is a setup. This is set up as like a true ghost story. They're sitting around a fire, and I think she's talking about either her sister or her cousin, who is Miss Giddens. But they're kind of giving you the setup beforehand, which I thought was really interesting. So a lot of these things were deliberate. So they had written in, or at least were considering writing in flashbacks to kind of give some of this kind of background. And then they decided not to. And you only get that one kind of brief line about where she comes from, how it was this kind of strict upbringing in a very religious family. But that's later. So yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know why they're going for it, but.
Well, no, and like there's nothing wrong with it, but I guess earlier we were talking about, black and white movies and how like the culture has changed and this, and like they just don't, it sounds so silly to be like, they don't make them like they used to. Yeah. But I don't mean it like that. I just mean it like they don't. Like,
no, but think about feature length movies now are usually 120 minutes instead of 90 too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, it was just something that like, I'm not like arguing that it's better or worse. I'm just saying that like, I noticed like, oh, okay. So the movie opens up, they just give us everything we need to know to set us on our way. And then basically send us on our way to the castle. Yeah.
It's interesting what you said though about The Shining. I didn't put that together. I wonder if,
cause that kind of happens. So, he's in his job interview and they're like, you're going to be up here all winter, whatever. And then blah, blah, blah. And then here we go. Anyways.
And he gets possessed by the ghosts.
Danny, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. Casey will lose her mind.
Like, you can't get in touch.
I've just accepted it.
All right, really quickly. Conspiracy theory of the week. The Shining exists in the same universe as The Innocents, and maybe the same supernaturals apply. And that's it. Hit it. Retroactively.
Retroactively.
Okay, so our main character, Miss Giddens, is tasked with becoming a governess to two children that this dude, what's his name?
Just like Uncle.
The actor is Michael Redgrave. What is the Uncle? Uncle. Unc. Let's call him Unc because we're in the bruh cuz kind of thing. We'll call him Unc. So Unc is just like, hey, I don't want to deal with these kids. You take them, do whatever you want. And so Miss Giddens gets to this estate and she sees the estate and she's like, oh, I want to walk the rest of this bitch. So she starts walking and she hears someone calling whose name? Flora's name?
Flora.
And then she's like, oh, someone was out there calling her name. And I was like, then Mrs. Josie Grossi was like, I didn't hear anybody calling anybody's name. There's nobody else here.
And that establishes right away that either Flora is lying or there's a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
Or someone else is, that's not really an argument. I was going to say someone is just like fucking with all of them. But I don't know if there's a lot of evidence to support that.
Peter Quint and Miss Jessel aren't really dead. They're just like living on the grounds and they're just...
Maybe they're trying to scare them out and be like, these are simple-minded people. And, the uncle's not there anyways. Maybe we can just like live here and they would never know.
Kind of like a, what's it called situation.
Yeah.
Spoiler, 15-second skips. What's it called? Parasite.
Oh, thanks. Thanks a lot. I'm just kidding. I've seen it several times. So good.
It is.
But anyways, so maybe they live on the grounds.
I thought that they were going to pull a spoiler alert.
For what?
The Hours.
Oh my God. So many spoilers.
The Others.
The Others.
Oh, I was like, wait.
Thank you.
Both Nicole Kidman, I think.
Yes.
She does
both
have a
in both.
prosthetic nose on.
Yes. Have you guys seen it?
Yes.
Okay, I thought that
I don't
the kids
remember
were
too
dead.
much about it, but I remember the ending. I know I saw it. And
I
remember
love
ending.
the others.
But yeah, that's what I thought was going on.
Okay. Yeah, it definitely, like, I bet you that this was some kind of inspiration on the others.
Yeah, very similar.
I at least thought
setup.
the boy was, because of he had come home from school for no reason.
But Flora, see, that's the thing. Flora even says at one point that she knew her brother was coming home sooner.
Yes.
Which feels like
That's
could be
what I meant. Like, that's what I thought.
supernatural.
I thought because he's coming home sooner because he dated.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So, okay. So if you're looking at this movie and it is a supernatural story, they are ghosts. And let's just, for this argument's sake, that the ghosts are possessing the children. I was trying to look at it from that perspective because sometimes the kids seem like kids, even the way they're talking. But then sometimes you can almost see them shift. And like Miles specifically will just like start talking in this very, upper class, very mature sort of kind of like adult way of speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really trying to flag it. And there's a scene that comes later where there's this huge gust of wind and Miles almost seems to switch on a dime. And he says something and he's like, "Don't be frightened. It was only the wind, my dear." And he's like, so like
it blows
regal.
out the candle. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh shit. Is that supposed to symbolize like a physical like representation of him being kind of possessed where Quint kind of took over, but then sometimes leaves? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, this movie fucks with your head. Like, I'm like jumping around, but
no, because you'll see like at the end when we get there, there is like a connection between Peter Quint and Miles. Mm-hmm. Whatever the connection is, there is some kind of connection there. So maybe that is like he comes in and he like comes and goes as he pleases.
yeah.
And I remember like thinking as soon as Flora came on, I was like, that girl is dead. Like,
Yeah.
that's a dead girl. She's
That's a
walking
dead
around,
girl.
she's talking, but she's a ghost.
And it's funny that
I was like, I'm calling it.
You referenced the movie Parasite because it's almost like the ghosts are parasites. Like they just take over conveniently, like whatever works for them. Like we're going to possess them. We're going to do, whether it's to fuck with the people living in the house or to just kind of be alive, so to speak. There's even a point where Flora mentions that she likes the dark. There's these like passing phrases that they say where it's like, what? I don't know, like little things like, why does she like the dark? Is she accustomed to the dark because she's dead? And that's actually Miss Jessel talking. I don't know. And the fact that Miss Jessel drowned in the water.
Is she Bane? Was she born into the darkness? Speaking of weird shit that Flora says, oh, here's a lovely spider eating a butterfly.
Yes. Which is like the corruption of innocence. Right? It's like this beautiful thing. And this like insect, this thing that is like overpowering it. It just destroys it. And she has no problem with it.
I mean, it is just nature. It's not really that sinister.
But the fact that they draw attention to it, and the fact that she is this child who like doesn't mind it, it's almost like, it's like if it was Miss Jessel, it's almost like justifying this idea,
Right.
Because even before that, Flora asks, I think she asks Miss Jessel, she asks where the Lord like takes people when they die, and she says if she's bad, would he leave her here to walk around? And so it's like, is that punishment? And it's almost like Miss Jessel could be asking, or Flora knows that there's these ghosts and she's like trying to understand it from like a child's perspective.
Right. Like, why are they hanging around here?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a question. It's a big house, right?
I'll know the answer to this.
Yeah, we got this.
Yeah.
Casey, take it.
I got it.
It's a big house.
Yes.
What the fuck was Miss Giddens thinking when she's like, okay, just a quick game of hide and seek before bed?
I know.
What?
And they even say they're like, we can use the whole house. And she's like, sure. What if the whole movie was just her trying to find them? She's like, fuck my life. This is ridiculous. 3-hour movie.
I mean, she's never been a governess before. She's got no idea what she's doing.
Yeah, she's just totally overwhelmed. She's like, oh, hide and seek like we would do in our one-room shack on the farm.
How hard can it be?
Yeah, you could just count, and there they are.
It's like she's like hunched over in a corner with her hands over her eyes, counting to 10, and the only place to hide is like under her arms where she's hunched over because there's nowhere to hide for this one room. She's like 1, 2. Oh, excuse me. Like little kid's like, I'm just gonna tuck in here real quick. Hold on. Stupid.
Okay, a few things that I wrote down just to reinforce some of the fact that, you know, like if you are team possession, when Miss Giddens swears that she sees Quint, or at least at this point, just a man standing up in the tower, and she goes and sees that it's Miles, and she's like, yo, like, was there someone up there? In Miles' response, he says, perhaps it was me. And she says, no, it was a man.
Oh, man.
And it's like, God damn it. Like, is he just saying like, it was me and it was a man? It's just, and then when they're talking about him growing up, he responds, he says, there's nothing I want to be but a boy in Bly, which you could almost argue is like Quint reflecting on the life he didn't have before his untimely tragic death, to say like, well, if I'm going to die, I want the opportunity to come back. And since they've established him as being this kind of like cold, you know, like very persuasive, like in the worst kind of way, people, he would be the kind of ghost who's like, I'm going to just possess this kid, this rich kid, and I'm going to live this great life because I've been established that I do not give a shit about other people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be a little rich kid.
I know.
I'd probably be a ghost.
I thought you were going to say I'd probably be a pretty good rich kid.
I would. I've seen Richie Rich.
Zach would be the kind of rich kid, since we've established, who would throw dummies of humans off bridges into traffic. It's like, oh, I got some free time on my hands.
Have you guys ever seen Blank Check?
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, those movies were good. Like, just kids buying a bunch of stuff. Richie
But
Rich
he has
had
like
that
$1 million that seems to buy quite a bit.
Well, back in what, the early 90s, whenever that movie came out?
Yeah. But even as a kid, I was like, wow, he bought the house and all the things that come with it. He still hasn't cracked 100. And he's just like literally handing out money. But Zach, you had set up the game of hide and seek. And I feel like that's maybe one of like the most important scenes in the movie, because that's where we get a lot of information, where Miss Giddens finds the music box in the attic, the photo of Quint. And then even Miles like catching her and kind of like being physical with Miss Giddens, and then kind of playing it off as like,
he like puts her in a sleeper hold.
Yeah. And then until someone walks in and he's like, I was just kidding. And it's like, oh.
He's like, Vernon, stand by me. Sleeper hold, sleeper hold. No one gets out of the sleeper hold. And then Miss Giddens like, Miles, there's something on your neck.
Wait, this is the second time that we've seen that Stephen King was influenced by The Innocents for one of his stories. Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Is this his favorite movie?
But right after they find that little picture of Quint, and then like Miss Giddens like runs down and talks to Josie Grossi, and she's like, dude, like what happened? And they're like, oh, he died. And then like Miles and Flora, I think they're both there, are like on top of the stairs, and they're like giggling. Yeah. And it's like, oh shit.
Well, do they giggle before or after Miss Giddens sees Quint in the window? Like for like a hot second. Because I think she goes down. That's okay. So they flip it because she hides.
I have Miles puts the sleeper hold on Miss Giddens, and then Miss Giddens sees Quint outside the window.
That's right. Because she was hiding behind the curtain.
Okay.
She turns around, sees him, screams, and then she talks to Josie Grossi. And I also love this about like older movies, that they're so simple, where it's like, I saw a man. She's like, was it a handsome man? Yes, that's Peter Quint. Like, oh God. Like there's no question.
She doesn't see other people.
That's fair. I guess who would be
the only handsome man she knows is that guy.
She's like, oh, the one handsome man I've seen in my entire life because I've never left this farm.
Look at Miss
I
Josie
will-
Grossie's so like horny. It's like, I saw a man outside. She's like, was he good looking?
She's
Did he have
also
a fairly large dick?
penis.
Like, wait.
You said dick. Penis. She would have said penis.
She would have said,
Does he have a
phallic
fairly large
member.
appendage?
Yeah, a member.
Remember?
What was the girth of his member?
Cock. They say cock a lot in England,
That's a good point.
right? Or prick.
Yeah.
Did he have a jolly good prick?
How are
Do
his
they have a
fingers and
jolly
mash? A jolly
Ew.
good prick. But that's the point where Grossie's like, no, he's dead, and that's when the children start laughing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yep.
like, that's again, it's like planting in your head of like, are they laughing because they're like, haha, you'll never know that they're dead, but they're us? Or is it the kid? Yeah. This whole movie just like constantly like contradicts your own theories because they all could technically mean the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Without her ever actually experiencing any of that stuff, she's very quick to believe. What's her name?
Oh yeah. She's like, she's like, this is like a wonderful day for an exorcism. Like
Yeah.
halfway through the movie. They're like, oh. That's when Josie Grossi mentions that Miles found Quint after he died, and then specifically says that Quint had such power he had over people. So it's like,
Oh, do you think there was like a little bit of a,
Like a
Charles Lee
transference.
Ray kind of
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
a day a
Oh,
Dewey
what-
Dembala thing?
There you go. I was like, I'm gonna find this article, know that.
I was gonna do it. Damn it.
Yeah, okay. So that adds another element to this story. Damn.
yeah. But then you could argue that her saying he had so much power over people because he was very, they said Miles liked him, he's very influential. Is that just Miles? His whole like vibe right now is just a kind of cocktail of emotions because he's neglected. He clearly doesn't have parents. He's neglected
Mhm.
by his uncle. The one male figure in his life who is like supposedly like a positive male figure is not only dead, but he watched him die.
Right.
So it's like, is he
Right.
just broken up about it, or did the guy possess him?
Yeah. Because Flora is all broken up about Miss Jessel too.
Yeah.
And like she, as soon as Miss Giddens mentions Miss Jessel, like later in the movie, Flora like freaks the fuck out.
Yep.
And that's when Grossi is like, I've never heard such obscenities come out of a child's mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So it was almost like she was possessed because like, why would she wouldn't say those things? She wouldn't know to say those things unless she was possessed.
Exactly. Oh,
Interesting.
God, this movie. I love this movie. It is a trip. So then we meet our second monster when we see the ghost of Miss Jessel standing in the marsh, staring out at Miss Giddens and Flora.
Oh yeah.
Creepy.
That was creepy.
Like truly, truly creepy. And that is kind of what sets up Miss Giddens is now, like you said, like she just kind of goes from 0 to 60. She's convinced that this is a haunting. And now she wants to figure out what they want.
But
She figures out.
I meant Miss Gross without ever having, she's like right on board with everything that she's saying without ever having experienced any of it. She goes to her
Yeah.
and she's like, hey, I've been seeing this and the children are possessed. And she says, I don't think so, like one time. And then she's like, you know what? You're right. You're right.
Yeah, is that supposed to be
She's
just
like, what
like
should we do? What should we
Yeah.
do?
the times, or was she just like a very simple person, or just agreeable?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it like, oh, it's my job to listen to the governess?
Yeah.
Because they do
Or-
kind of establish that, where she's like, I was put in charge. So is Miss Gross just like, all right, well, I guess whatever you say is like
Maybe.
fact.
Yeah. But there is like other workers in the house that like we don't talk about,
Yeah.
or that we don't see. And Josie Grossi's probably like, what's this fucking lady?
Which actually, I wonder if, and again, I might be looking way too deep into this, but like, was that deliberate? I mean, it could have just been they just didn't want to pay more actors. Was it deliberate to not see the other workers, or was it just to kind of put us in the headspace of Miss Giddens to be like, no, that's just the guy who works over there. We just haven't met him. So you're just maybe seeing him. I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't hurt.
Yeah.
I would, in my opinion, I would think that it would not have to do with not having to pay extra actors.
It's not like we put all of our money into this house.
You know what I mean? It's not like, it's not like, I think the filmmaking when this was made a little different than now trying to make like your own movie.
Yeah, especially if it's just like a cutaway to a guy raking leaves or something.
Yeah.
And just be like, that's Bob.
We'll pay you $10.
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking though? This is a little off track, but sort of on the same wavelength here. So trying to put myself in the headspace of like Tobe Hooper and the crew of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre when they were making that movie.
Yeah.
And like trying to separate the cultural like phenomenon of what it is that we know it to be, like Leatherface and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like before all that, they were just like making a movie that was not a classic. You know what I mean? They were just like going through hell to like just make a movie.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Not knowing what it was going to, like, there's no way they could have known what it was going to become. But it's wild to think that,
well, yeah, I mean,
you know, they weren't like, we're making the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and it's going to be a classic one day. They're just like,
I don't even think that anything will ever have that much weight again either. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Just in regard to like how it was put, like
just how it's revered now. There's never going to be, I mean, there are several that have come after that are, but I think we're at a point where that's not going to happen anymore, because as good as a movie is, it's never going to be the first. You know what I mean? It's never.
And also just the industry has changed so much that the ability to make movies is just easier now.
It's too easy.
Yeah. So what they had to get through,
right?
Like you said, Zach, it was almost like the journey getting there sort of has a lot to do with maybe why it's so revered.
Yeah.
It just happens that the movie is also awesome.
Yeah. Anyways, back to Bly Manor.
So yeah, we find out that Quint was abusive. Miss Jessel loved him. She probably died of a broken heart.
Oh.
But then we find out that she drowned herself in the lake. Oh, it is like The Hours.
Well, I haven't seen The Hours, and I didn't mean to say The Hours.
That's so funny.
So many spoilers.
Oh, there actually is another sign that maybe there is possession being involved in this movie, because there's a scene. I wrote, I don't know what the context is here. I just wrote going to see the uncle, but sees Jessel's ghost, and Miss Giddens starts crying. There's like a tear. Ooh. So then I was wondering if maybe Miss Jessel was possessing her for a moment to kind of stop her from going, and that maybe Miss Giddens was kind of seeing the tragedy of what happened.
So you're talking about when she sees her like in the classroom at the desk.
Thank you. That's exactly what it was.
So this is something I read. I don't know if it was on IMDb or what, but she's in the classroom and she turns and she sees Miss Jessel sitting in the desk in front of the window.
So creepy.
And and then the camera turns and this and that. And when it comes back, she's gone. Right. And Miss Jessel sits down in the desk and she feels or sees and feels like a teardrop that had fallen from Miss Jessel's eye sockets.
Eye holes.
from her eye holes. Yeah. From her
in your eye holes.
her face anus. Her face, her anus.
Her fanus.
That reminds me of a movie.
And from what I read,
the sadness.
Oh God! Oh, the sadness. Oh,
she's a fanus.
That's so gross.
She gets her fucking eye hole fucked. Anyway, it's so good.
It was so bad. So bad. It's like so disgusting, bro. It's like disgusting.
Yeah, bro. Cause so bad.
Yeah, bro.
All right.
Bruh. That was like really gross, bruh.
Hey, bro.
Danny, it does not work with you.
Where did I read this about Truman Capote?
Wait, why? I could do it.
No, it's okay. It's not a bad thing. Trust me. It's just very not you.
Yeah, you don't want to be someone who can pull off bruh and cuz. You don't want to.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that.
You're a well-respected young man.
I'm like Miles from this movie. I'm Mary Poppins.
Where
Have you
the
not
fuck
found
did
it
I
then?
read it? I don't know.
Oh,
I didn't
no.
read it, but something about Truman Capote like regrets writing that scene with the teardrop because he wanted it to be like.
Did Capote regret putting that scene in because it basically took away all the ambiguity because it kind of confirms that there is a ghost because she sees the tear?
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was. That sounds right.
Because in the defense of that scene, though, you could almost argue that it was Miss Giddens' tear and that she's just kind of losing it and didn't even know she was crying. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there is a way around that.
Sure. Okay. So here's what I had read. According to Gerald Clark's biography of Truman Capote, screenwriter Capote felt that the scene where Miss Giddens touches the teardrop of Miss Jessel in the schoolroom was a huge mistake, and he regretted writing it. He believed the audience would never really know if the ghosts were real or a figment of Miss Giddens' imagination.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So basically what you said.
Okay.
And I would say you said it much more elegantly than
Yes.
IMDb trivia block.
Are we surprised?
There you go.
No.
Well, now let's go to ChatGPT and see if they can say it better than I said it.
No, we don't use ChatGPT. No.
No,
No.
we don't want to
We
get
are-
Pacey nightmares.
No.
We are pro-union and we support the strike.
That's right.
I do love, so this is like the point in the movie where Miss Giddens is like, I'm taking matters into my own hands, as if she wasn't already. And she goes to Josie Grossi, and I love this because she was like, the kids just need to admit that they're possessed, and then she can cast them out. And I was just imagining
she
if,
knows how to do everything.
yeah, exactly. Like, she's like, we just have to have, imagine if that was in The Exorcist, they're like, are you the devil? No. Are you the devil? Okay, yeah. It's like credits.
Get out of here.
It's that Curb Your Enthusiasm music. Oh, man. Okay, so Miles hides a dead bird under his pillow. Fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to smell bad. Well, it's freshly dead, so I don't know if it would smell that bad. But that's when
Yeah.
he kisses Miss Giddens. He says, yeah, kiss me goodnight, Miss Giddens. And then he just like lays a fat one on her.
Yep.
And that, I think, okay, so that's weird, right? But it's like, I think it's a little different with him kissing her
Yes.
because it's like little boy and this, and he's like, oh, because then she should have been like, no, hey, I'm an adult.
Yeah.
Don't do this.
100%.
But then like later in the movie, when he's dead,
She reciprocates. Yeah.
right? And she just like goes full on.
Ew,
pedo,
not only is it a
necro.
little boy, but it's a dead
He's
little
dead
boy.
little boy.
So
Yeah.
she's a pedophile and a necrophiliac.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
fucking gross.
Yep.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Creepy. And also from like a well-regarded actor, Deborah Carr. That's why I'm trying to look at it from the lens of 1961, because that would also be the fact that we're talking about it right now, and it's still so disturbing. Imagine back then, you have this like really, again, like well-regarded actor doing these things in this horror movie. It's like, oh, Jesus. Like that's why I like, but that's also, I think, why I love horror movies, is because they touch on topics that are probably never, well, not never, but not as often maybe discussed in other genres, to kind of like show like
you should get into true crime.
I know. Well, that's the thing, is I like the fiction element because there's that like it's like a it's a little bit of a buffer.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, true crime. Like I listen to so much true crime. It's a lot. I mean, I get to listen to my headphones for 8 hours every single day at work. You know. And all of it is like really disgusting, but like necrophilia is literally the one thing that I'm always like, how
That's awful.
how does that happen?
And that's why this movie is so disturbing, but also so kind of fascinating to discuss, because they're touching on such like taboo topics that are truly like actually vile, but they're presented in a way that is not only on the surface, like everything is like beautiful and regal and old fashioned, but also sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Where like it's not quite specific. It keeps
vague.
Yeah. Like is it this or is it that? Am I reading too into it, or is it what's on the surface? And is what's on the surface real or supernatural, or is it a figment of someone's imagination? Like, did she even do that in the end? You know, like that's the thing I think is, and why did she do it? And was it a ghost, or was she possessed by Miss Jessel at that point? Or was, you know, it's
just to go back to my theory at the beginning, when the kids aren't even kids, they're actually Peter Quint and Miss Jessel. And then really she's just kissing Peter Quint.
Yeah. And then Casey, you had mentioned earlier about how, well, you both did, but I'm probably just clinging on to something Casey
No,
said.
it was just Casey. I didn't say anything. Yeah.
No, but like to your point, Zach, too, about how like it kind of has that cold open where it kind of sets everything up, and we don't get a real backstory about Miss Giddens, but we get like a little bit of information later about growing up with the preacher father and this like, so then it's the story about where she is the innocent, where like, how closed off was she? Is this her first job? She seems kind of older, you know, like who is she mentally and emotionally? And how does that feed into being isolated, put in charge, you know, maybe having her own kind of like internal issues that maybe we just don't know about, and maybe was just not discussed at that time period. Yeah. So it's like all sort of like compacted into this really dramatic situation that ends up becoming tragic. And we're kind of witnessing like how kind of just like how messed up that can make someone, or just, it just becomes very kind of tumultuous and confusing and dark and scary. And yeah. So, or it's ghosts.
Yeah.
Or it could be ghosts.
Oh, there is a line that I really love when Josie Grossi she's going to go to the uncle, and she says to Miss Giddens, she's like, what am I to tell the uncle? And she says, the truth.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that there's like so many layers to that, because like the truth isn't the truth, because no one is like believes what they see, or no one's sure what's real. So it's like, it's another layer of like
she just like sighs. She's like, fine. Okay.
She's like, which truth? Which one do you want me to tell him?
What do you want to tell?
Pick one.
But yeah, so that's like right after Flora freaks out, and she's like, okay, I'm taking Miss Giddens is like, Josie Grossi, you take Flora, go see the uncle. I need to deal with Miles, which is kind of weird. Again, we're getting into this thing where she's like, I need to be alone with him.
Yeah.
In this,
like,
she's
why?
like, I've sent all the rest of the staff home. You're going to see the uncle. It's just me and Miles. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
What was the intention there? Was it because she says she thinks she could stop it by getting them to admit that they're possessed?
Something like that. Yeah.
Maybe Miss Giddens maybe I am reading too much into it. Maybe I'm trying to defend her too much in a way.
Yeah. Maybe
she is
she's
the monster.
Just a fucking nasty bitch.
Yeah. Like a horrible person. Yeah. And like, we're just basically watching it from her perspective to say like, oh, it's not me that's wrong. It's these kids. It's, you know, she's putting the blame on everyone else. It's the dead people. It's the people who are dead who can't, you know, stand up for themselves. It's the two kids who can't defend themselves. It's me who's in charge. I have all the power.
Yeah. So she confronts Miles when everyone's gone, and she basically forces him to say Peter Quint's name. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't say it before, and she forces him to do it. And then like, so at the very end, they're in like the garden, and there's all these statues kind of like stacked up. And she sees Peter Quint like standing on one. Miles says the name. The ghost kind of disappears, and then Miles fucking dies.
So I was wondering.
Miles
Did
fucking dies.
Miles
Fucking
die
dies, bruh.
of shock because of just everything that's happening? Or from a supernatural perspective, did he die because Quint left his body and that was what was kind of keeping him alive?
Yeah. Do you guys remember, like a few scenes back when they're like yelling at she's like, they're not yelling, but like she's talking to him over the dinner table and he smacks the fucking Jello.
Nope. I wish I did though.
You know,
Are you
like,
being serious?
You know, like when you see a bag of soil or something in like Home Depot and you have to smack it.
Yeah.
There's like Jello or something on the table and he like smacks it and it goes.
Did that really happen?
Yes.
Oh.
Danny, do you know what I'm talking about?
He has. That's the thing is he. I think he has the best performance in the movie.
Yeah.
For a kid to kind of understand the layers of like, is he playing a kid who's just like precocious and shitty, or is he playing an adult or playing a kid playing an adult who's trying to be a kid? Which is so layered and complicated and interesting. He was in another horror movie where he plays a creepy kid, but it was...
Dude, so...
Why can't I think of it?
Okay. The whole time, he gave me Mikey vibes.
Oh, my God.
Do you remember Mikey? We've talked about
with
Mikey
the kid
before.
From Blank Check.
Blank Check. Oh,
Wow.
my God.
Oh, my God.
Is it time?
No, that doesn't make any sense.
For the
Not even
How
an
I Met
ounce
Your
of it. It's not
Monster?
even the same actor. It's just you just reminded you of him.
But here's the thing. Possession. It's all about possession, right?
Well, we could link
So-
this to any movie then. If you just want to say everyone's fucking possessed.
Anyways, okay, we'll skip it.
So
We'll
would the
skip it.
theory have been is...
Oh, we're not skipping
Well,
it.
I guess we're not. Go ahead, Danny.
It is time for the How I Met Your Monster conspiracy theory of the week.
Hit it.
You're telling me that NASA is going to kill the president of the United States with an earthquake.
Not exactly the kind of thing a Secret Service agent can, like, just throw himself on top of.
The whole Vietnam War was fought over a bet. Howard Hughes lost to Aristotle Onassis.
This is the third issue this year. Conspiracy theory.
Casey, what do you got?
What?
No, okay. The conspiracy theory of the week is Miles Mikey or is the kid from Blank Check? What would
Quint.
it be? Wait, it's kind of the same idea where it's like he
Dude,
moves into this big house.
He kisses
Oh
a
my
grown
God.
woman in that movie. What the
my
fuck?
God, it's literally about a kid who takes on someone else's identity, an adult's identity, in order to procure a mansion, and while living there, pretends, like, makes people believe that he's a grown man, even though he's actually a kid. And then in the end, yeah,
Mr.
like you said,
McIntosh. Oh my God.
Mr. McIntosh is Mr. Quint, and the detective who kisses him is Miss Giddens.
I wish I never would have brought up that movie.
Oh, I'm
Dude.
so glad you did.
That's wild.
All right, listeners, tune in next week when we do a special mini episode on Blank Check, aka The Innocents Part 2.
Part deux. Man,
God, that's crazy, actually.
there's
That's
more to
so
chew
weird.
on there. There's definitely more to chew on, like,
Yeah.
for sure.
It's still not a conspiracy theory.
It's a conspiracy. It's a fact.
It's not
It's
a
a-
conspiracy
it's
theory.
a-
It's just a parallel story.
A possessional theory.
I refuse to live in a world where that is not now hard fact. No, but we were talking about Miles, and this is just going to drive me crazy, but he's like the literal poster child of the movie Village of the Damned. The kid with the blonde hair and the creepy eyes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
So he was doing some stuff.
he's doing some stuff.
Okay, so the Blank Check kid is Miles. Miles is the Blank Check kid.
Perfect.
So that's pretty much the Innocents.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean,
That's it.
there's, man, a lot to unpack, but that is a good, we kind of just like got to the hotel room and like unpacked our bag and put it in the drawers.
Yep.
That's
Who
unpacking.
fucking does that? Do you guys
We
do
really
that?
settled in.
I do.
Do you?
Do you do that?
I mean, I guess
Yes,
I
and then you
should,
put
yeah.
and then you put your dirty clothes into your suitcase so that you don't have everything all over the place.
Oh, how smart is that?
Yeah, I'm kind of organized. Not sure if you guys realize
Casey,
that.
you teach us so much about organization. Yeah. You're fixing our hotel experiences.
Your extended stays.
Yeah.
Yep.
God damn it.
Okay, well, do you guys want to talk about the reveals in The Innocents?
Sure.
I do. Casey is indifferent.
I want to talk about it too, because I want to talk about fucking Miss Jessel in the tall grass.
Oh,
Not fucking Miss Jessel in the tall grass.
You don't want to fuck Miss Jessel in the tall grass?
I don't know, I couldn't get a
She's
good look
a
at her.
ghost, you weirdo. God.
Wait, that's not necrophilia. That's like something
No,
else.
there is a
There's
name
gotta be a
for
name
it. Let's
for
see.
Yeah.
What are you Googling? Like, what is the question? you're
It
Googling?
was not what I should have. Yeah.
Can you
not
fuck
what I
a
should have
ghost?
written. What is ghost sex called?
If I fucked a ghost, what would people call me?
Spectrophilia.
Wait, that sounds
Spectrophilia.
fun.
Well, spectro. Spectro means ghost.
Yeah, it's like a fun. I'm gonna.
It's like-
spectrophiliac.
Well, okay, you say that, and then I think of like the goop from Ghostbusters when
Ew.
Venkman's like, Egon, your mucus.
You're telling me that you're not thinking of the scene in Scary Movie 2 where Tori Spelling has sex with a ghost?
I'm not.
I just watched that recently. It's so
It's
fun.
ridiculous.
Okay, so here's our reveals for The Innocents.
What's going on here?
I don't see anything anywhere.
That's how they get you. They're under the goddamn ground.
We've got a man on the tower, which we find out later may or may not be Peter Quint. The woman walking in the hallway. Did you guys notice that?
No.
Was that another worker, or was that
What?
you didn't see that? There's a whole scene, like she's like exploring the house, and she turns the corner, and there's a lady in a dress that just like floats by.
Stop.
And goes into the. I'm telling you, man.
Do you know like around what time in the movie it was?
Well, it's
I can
after we
tell
see
you.
the guy on the roof, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And before whatever the next reveal is.
That's it. See, Casey, this is why you're here.
Good, yeah.
He's like giving us the obvious, like, oh yeah.
So the man outside the window is the next one.
So it's between
that's
the man on the roof and the man in the window.
So then that would have to be before or during the hide and seek.
Mm-hmm.
God, I love this movie. It's funny. I had mentioned this the last episode. I always forget how like creepy it is, like skeevy creepy, which kind of makes it hard to be like, oh, let's throw The Innocents on. It's a good movie. But just like
I love when middle-aged women kiss little boys.
No, but like just the atmosphere, and I do love the black and white and just like little details, like Zach, you just pointing out that you're so distracted by everything else that you don't even notice like a ghost or woman walking by.
Okay, so the woman walking in the hallway, which may be a worker, or it may not be. We've got the man outside the window during hide and seek, which is Peter Quint. Mm-hmm. Woman in the tall grass, Miss Jessel. Miss Jessel when she appears in the desk in the classroom.
Oh, that's good.
And I counted as a reveal. I counted like the whispering between Miss Jessel and Quint when Miss Giddens is like walking through the house, and the whispering keeps like getting bigger and bigger, and they're like, "She's coming!" Like, don't this that. It's like creepy. Then we've got Miss Jessel again in the pond, like in the grass when Flora freaks out at the gazebo. Peter Quint in the window again. He loves windows. And then Quint in the garden at the end, right before Miles bites it. So those are the reveals that I have.
Okay.
What's your favorite? What was your
Oh,
favorite
that's
little
definitely
ghost?
a ghost. That's not an employee.
She like glides across the fucking
Yeah,
thing.
she's
That
definitely a
is
ghost.
so cool.
Anyway,
But it's not but if you just saw it, I closed out of it, but she's blonde, right?
yeah, she's got lighter hair.
Lighter hair. It's not Miss Jessel who's got the dark hair.
Maybe
But it's clearly like a ghost.
maybe it's the governess that's there now.
So then all are the other employees that we don't see, maybe they're ghosts. Oh my God. Okay.
Wait,
We just
is
need to-
Josie Grossi a ghost?
She could be.
What if they're all dead?
She's just.
What
a
if the
ghost.
uncle killed them all and was
Oh
like, maybe he
my
wants to
God.
frame her? So he's like, I'm going to put her in charge. Everyone's dead. She's like this simple-minded woman. He knows the place is haunted.
Well, okay. And she gets out before the carriage even takes her to the house.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So
Wow,
this is like
okay.
all just like a setup to frame her. And it's just like he knew like the powers that were like in that house, like supernaturally. So he's like, I'll just frame her. It'll fuck with her head. She won't know left from right. And then boom.
She's gonna kiss little boys.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I didn't see that coming.
He's
Yeah.
like, oh shit.
Jeez, lady. God.
So what is your favorite reveal, Danny?
I know I had mentioned I really do love that scene when Miss Jessel's at the desk. There's just something about it that is so kind of matter of fact about it. Like, oh, she's just sitting there crying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That is very unnerving to me. But I think my favorite is Miss Jessel in the marsh.
Yeah.
Just watching them.
That's for me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one, but going back and just watching that one in the hallway, that one's my favorite now.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. It's creepy.
Because it's the creepiest one because it's more like a ghost than a person, because she's like gliding and you only see her for a second. She's not staring at anybody which
It kind of actually going to Ghostbusters, talking about Ghostbusters, it reminds me of when they see the ghost in the library at
yeah.
the beginning.
Drifts
and she's
past them.
drifts
Yeah.
past. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Do you think the ghost was also playing hide and go seek and she's like, she thought Miss Giddens could see her?
Oh no, she's gonna see me.
I thought I had more time. Said every ghost ever.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That's
Bro.
sad.
Bro.
Bro.
All right.
Bro.
Well, now it is time for a segment that we like to call The Real Monster.
Run, run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man.
You're a monster.
I'm not the monster here. You are. You and the rest of that fairy tale trash poisoning my perfect world. Now tell me, where are the others?
Eat me.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go first. Gonna get this out of the way. Zach, I'm sorry. I know that you've been a stepdad for like 4 years now, and now you have a child of your own, but the answer is children. Real monsters are children. Wow.
Okay.
They just, I mean, God, they're so easily possessed, first of all. Second, they just scream all the time, and these kids are weird. Kids are weird.
Yeah, you've held my baby, and
She was cool. I liked her. I told everyone, because everyone's like, oh my God, you held a baby. Because I'm not a huge fan of kids. And I was like, she was well behaved. She's cool.
Yep.
She's okay in my book.
Danny, your real monster.
My real monster was the uncle, because he just kind of pieces out, and I feel like he kind of symbolizes all of the neglect that's in that house that I think probably has to do with why so much of it is all fucked up in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess, Casey,
Sure.
I'm kind of like the opposite, where like you said the kids are the monsters. I would say that the people who should be the role models taking care of them are the monsters.
Yeah, but sometimes it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's true.
Like Mikey.
Like
And
Mikey.
speaking of
They tried.
Mikey, my real monster is Miles.
Yeah.
For two reasons. One is for telling Miss Giddens that she's too pretty to wear spectacles.
Oh, excuse me?
Basically, she's like, "Oh, I might need spectacles," and he's like, "You're far too pretty for that. Like,
My
don't
glasses
fucking
are
do
cute
that."
as hell, Miles.
She's like, "Hey, Miles, go fuck yourself."
And second is also my second real monster is also Miles for throwing Rupert the turtle out the fucking window.
Yeah. Animal abuse. Not funny.
He throws Rupert the turtle out the fucking window, like breaks the glass and everything. It's not like the window is open. He throws it through the window pane. What a jerk.
He does. He abuses animals.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the dead bird, like, I'm sure he broke that fucking bird's neck.
Yeah. God.
Man.
I feel like we should also maybe give a special shout out to Miss Giddens for being a creep.
Yes.
Yeah. A pedophile.
Creep. Real monster honorable mention.
That song is about cheating.
Dishonorable mention.
yeah. Right. Well, okay, that's the Innocents. That was our last shift on our occupational hazards. We can finally clock out. Do you guys have anything before we punch that time card? Do you guys have anything else to add?
No, I'm out by
Innocents?
No, it's 5 o'clock. I don't have to do any work.
Fuck you.
Nah, I don't have to. I don't have to do any work.
You're cool. Fuck you. I'm out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listeners, if you have seen The Innocents, we want to know what you think of The Innocents and Miss Giddens' questionable actions. Reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. Or I guess it's X now, but
Threads.
TikTok, Threads. We're there. We're everywhere. Find us at How I Met Your Monster. Okay, so occupational hazards. We've survived all of our shifts.
We have.
But now it's after work. We had a long shift.
Yeah. We're hungry.
We're fucking hungry.
I'm fucking starving.
So hungry.
Casey, what's the line?
I'm so fucking hungry, Bill. I didn't think it was possible to be this hungry. Want to pass me some of that possum over there?
Something's wrong with me.
Something's wrong with me.
Yeah, we've got the hunger pains. Casey, what is our next triple feature?
It's Hunger Pains.
Oh, good. Good, that's convenient.
Yeah, so we're gonna,
What are we watching?
Well, first, we're gonna watch The Stuff.
Larry Cohen's The Stuff.
And then we're gonna watch The Ice Cream Man.
Clint Howard, The Ice Cream Man.
Nice. And then we're gonna watch The Silence of the Lambs.
Anthony Hopkins, Hannibal Lecter.
So we're watching two movies that are about sweets, and then the third movie is about somebody who eats human flesh. So
we got savory and we got sweet.
Yeah,
you know, guys,
what a balance.
We live in a world where there is so-called rules where it says you cannot have sweets before dinner, but god damn it, on this podcast
we're doing it.
Yeah, we're rule breakers. We're rebels.
We're also eating human flesh, which is probably worse than having dessert before dinner, but
yeah.
Okay, so make sure to join us if you're hungry.
Doesn't he say that in Too Fast, Too Furious, where he keeps saying, it's like a repeated line where he's like, I'm hungry.
Tyrese is all about like, we're hungry, like we're from, our pockets are empty or hungry. And then at the end, they like steal money from like the stuff they give back to the police. And they're like, our pockets aren't empty anymore, cuz. It's like so stupid.
You loved it.
I didn't love it, but I was invested. I am invested. I have to keep going.
I love it.
So make sure to follow along on social media so you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. And where can our listeners find you two on social media?
I am on Instagram at WolfMotherCasey.
Awesome.
I am on Instagram, Letterboxd, and Threads. Kind of still on Twitter, but I don't really use it anymore. It just got weird over there. At Danny Slim. That's just my name. DANNYSALEMME. That's 2 M's like the candy. Melt in your butt, not in your hands.
I didn't know that.
Wonderful. And you can find me on social media at Zach Winsick. And until next time, be safe. Don't take any jobs where you're not sure of what...
Do the proper vetting.
Your responsibilities are.
Yeah.
Do the proper vetting.
The money's not always worth it.
Mm-mm.
That's right. And thank you all for listening. Now go meet some monsters.
Bye.
It's
We already punched out Danny.
Oh, I clocked
Yeah.
back in. Damn
Get
it.
to work.
Oh, no.